Let's rock and roll. It's Coffee and Chat with Reverend Bruce. We're getting started on Saturday morning. Glad to be here. Glad to be with you. Um, Sharing on slightly sensitive subject. And I hope that in sharing that this gives us the ability to springboard and move on, move forward, go into things with a little more motivation and a little more of a cleared head than what might have been in the past. Um, I'll just say it. Uh, Today we want to talk about just keep living, just keep living, you know, and how that is an ability for us to make it. You know what I mean? Ability for us to make it. And I think that sometimes we don't put it all together because I would say having suffered some recent losses, right? You know what I mean? Living with that and having to come to a point where you have to learn how to manage living and your losses and what's that legacy that you're trying to build. What are those things and how do those three interweave and combine in order for you to move forward? And I think that as I speak today, hopefully you'll get some of that and understand it. The psalm is always sticky to situations of grief and mourning, but Psalm 38 verse 6 says, I am troubled, I am bowed down greatly, I go mourning all the day long. When you're down, you're not down for a second, you're down for a while. And so that's one of the main things that I've been dealing with. And so God bless. That's speaking volumes to it. Recently, I had to look back at a reflection I did on my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, my grandmother M.A., and she would say, just keep living. That was her thing. Just keep living. And you might know what you know now, but just keep living. You'll find out what life's about if you just keep living. And so one of the things that I really look at is 3 recent deaths came about in my life. They seem to be unrelated, other than I knew them all, but it caused me to look at my ministry and my mission a lot differently. As I approached this time to do some different things in ministry in 2026. And one was a friend in the ministry, a pastor over at St. Stephen's Church here in San Diego, Glenn McKinney. Nice guy, great guy. We always talked, always shared with each other in the delight of the ministry, but also, grief, him having lost his mother, sharing with me in that. And then later when he lost his father, and always a great conversation. Always a great conversation. And like I said, a great guy, great heart, great spirit. we need more of that as Christians. We need to be more around that type of spirit where people share and offer themselves to each other. Other loss, I shared it before here on Coffee and Chat. My first guest, who was a good friend of mine, Viet Mai, and he was really a friend of, I can't just say it was just my friend. He was a friend of the community. You know what I mean? And the beauty of Viet was he'd roll up to a lot of places that a lot of people wouldn't even venture to, and I think that was part of his embracing community and saying, hey, man, wherever it takes us, wherever we go. And so as a poet and a slam poet, lover of hip hop, he went to many places throughout the country, even with his travels internationally. We were talking because we both love Vancouver and places like that. And so I reflect back on a conversation I had with Viet at the end. The last conversation I had with him, in fact. And we were talking about him preparing for this show, which who in the world would know that this would be his final show. And like many artists, sometimes, we get in our heads and we're very critical of ourselves. And one of the things I said to him was, man, you're downplaying the power that you exude and the spirit that you have and this explosiveness that you have, this magnetism to draw people in. And I was like talking to him about it, and he just paused and said, man, thank you. I needed to hear that. And that was a moment that I was like, man, I'm sure you've heard that before. Come on, but it was just like, hey, no, man, I needed to hear that because I was at a loss with that. Like, is this working? Is this really, manifesting with people and turning into something? And that's how we feel sometimes. You're doing the work, but what does it mean? So I lost a pastor friend. I lost a dear friend. And I lost my father. My father, the first man to be involved with nearly everything in my life. And so that was hard because my father was different at the end. My father was always different, but he was a very different person from who he had been at the end. And I give credit to my father, much like I said, to him towards the end, but it was Father's Day when I went to see him. And we shared it, but I told my father, man, listen, everything you taught me, I've applied it somehow, even if you don't see it before you, I've applied it in some way or another in my life, everything that you've poured into me. And my father spent years with me, probably from the 5th or 6th grade into high school, early adulthood, just sitting at the table, the dinner table, eating dinner, breakfast, just drinking coffee and talking, where we would just dialogue and unpack certain things about life. And so my father was um, a great teacher in helping me understand some things. And I always give my dad a pass because I know who his dad was, who was my grandfather, who I loved, but I couldn't imagine all that. So God bless them. You know, they were great models, each different type men. But losing my father in September, and losing these two others like in succession with that, it really gave me pause, and it gave me a reminder of what my grandmother would say. My grandmother would say, "Just keep living." And I thought about it in dealing with loss and life and the type of legacy you want to leave. Um, just keep living. How your living affects it, and these are three things that I figure would be great takeaways for anybody that needs a inspiration in the midst of mourning. Number one, you got to look at life as a gift, and look at life as a gift that's filled with opportunity. And when you do that, the approach should be handled with care. Life is something that we're not given the time frame of, okay, when you hit this spot, you're gonna, you're gonna pass away, and be ready. A lot of people have short-lived fame or notoriety because they're here for that short season. I go back to, man, a good friend of mine from man, from middle school to high school, um, Greg Hoover, the dog. Man, just, man, God bless it. That guy was cool. And a lot of times we would be um, we'd be at basketball camps and roommates, and um, wouldn't go to sleep, just talking, and just crazy, man. Just the conversations in depth that we would have just in high school, crazy. And love the guy. And he passed away when I was out of town, out to college. But Greg was there, and he was part of my life when I needed to learn some things about um, sports, but also socializing. And so I appreciate everything I learned from Greg. But what happened when Greg passed was I saw life differently. And when you talk about handle with care, um, I saw life as very fragile, because here's something that got taken away from Greg right when he was turning his life around into something else. And so you never know. And so that helped me deal with the fragility of life. And then there was also, in that time frame, saw a lot of people leave this earth. Guys from my neighborhood, KN and Student Brain, things like that didn't have to be. And so God bless it. Those were unnecessary deaths, but they taught me so many lessons. And so um, peace and blessings to those that came before me and helped me see that I needed to handle life with care. And secondly, Um, you live and you learn. My grandma also said, you learn something new every day. You learn something new every day. You can be as wise as you want to be, but you learn something new every day because that life experience exposes you to stuff you hadn't been exposed to before. So open your eyes, open your ears to the experience of life and what life feeds you and gives you. Life is a very, very limited path. You know, some people only know where they've been and where they are. They've never been out of the city, out of the country, out of the area, right? They haven't been in touch with dirt. They haven't been in touch with animals. They none of that. And so they don't understand anything beyond urban existence, right? And so live life and experience life beyond what you know, take it for what it is. Where's your bucket list? What are the things you want to do? How are you experiencing life and expressing yourself? Is there a hidden artist within you? Is there something that's lying buried and dormant within you that you haven't opened up to and expressed because you've been holding back for some other day? Some day may not come for you. Let's be real. You've got to live it while you can. And I'm not saying anything that's on either on a stoic or Hellenistic uh, point of view of live and let live and live, carefree. What I'm saying is life is an experience and experience life and handle that with care, right? Handle that with care. And so open your eyes, open your ears, and experience what life has to offer. And finally, love living your life. Love living your life. As I approach some of this stuff in ministry that I have yet to do and am embarking upon it in 2026, it's much like starting this podcast and live stream. Okay, it's all here. What are you gonna do? And so here I am, looking at it, taking things to another level on a multimedia level, and then taking things to another level on a mobile ministry level, and then trying to embody that in with mentoring some other brothers in ministry to follow God's lead and the Spirit's lead in where they need to go, and being careful to also tend to what I need to do in my part of the vineyard. I'm going into this loving what I'm getting ready to do, loving it, loving the experience of it, and going into it knowing that I'll be extremely busy and might even wear myself out a few times, but I'll live this life without regret. I'll live this life with no regrets. And when I say that, I mean it totally. There won't be anything that will have me sitting here saying, well, I wish I had done that a little differently. No, I'm going to live this out from 2026 and beyond in a way that I haven't lived before, because oftentimes people will say you have something to prove or to prove someone wrong or whatever by some of the things you achieve in your life. And I don't have that daddy issue that some people may have, that they didn't get enough opportunity to, demonstrate to their father that they can handle whatever. God bless. I don't have that issue. What I do have an issue with is I didn't listen to the Spirit when I had initial opportunity to do some things, but I also realized that even as a minister, my maturity wasn't there for what I needed to do in this upcoming period. My maturity wasn't in that place. And so since it wasn't there, kaboom, here it is now. And I don't want to put anything on a pedestal, but I've been growing, and in growing, I've been preparing, and in preparing, my readiness is there. Does that mean it's perfect? Heck no. It's never going to be perfect. And for anybody that's trying to strive to do anything of any degree, it's never going to be perfect. And since it's never going to be perfect, I can't sit here and say, well, give it another 30 days. And no. Right? There's stuff that I'm going to be doing in ministry and in business that I haven't done in a while, but, hey, here we go. I'm doing it. There's stuff that people say, well, man, you've done something like that before, and it blew up and fell off the wayside. Well, it's different now. I'm different, right? I'm different. And like I said, my perspective has been tweaked, especially with these recent deaths and losses. And remember, funerals are for the living. Funerals aren't for the deceased. They're for the living, and for the living to celebrate the deceased, but also to connect and commune in order to continue on. That's what those celebrations are for. And so in adhering to that, I've seen where our lives can simply be on display for people as if it's a museum or something, or our lives can be connected with people and they can remember how we touched them, how we made them feel, how we were there for them, how we were truly a friend in a time of need. My grandmother was right. Just keep living. If you just keep living, you can experience this life. And when you experience this life, you can take a deep breath and realize that you are living without regret. You are living your own truth. You are living in the present. And you are living going forward with a positive attitude. And that's the way we all should be living.